discussion. This one is going to be really, really, really good. Super excited about this panel discussion today. Super excited about the panelists. We have some of the best on this panel for real. Like really, 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 really good. I'm excited about this. And so my name is Mark Hubbard. I am the CEO for Next Showcase USA, and we're in Next Showcase Chicago, one of our outlets for our brand. And we're happy to be partnering with Art West Chicago for the Freedom Fest. And I have with me the lovely young lady who's the CEO and the founder for Freedom Fest. And we're going to let her get started and introduce our panelists and then talk a little bit about what we have going on today and the topic of discussion. Lexi, is on you.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate it. So yes, again, good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. My name is Alexi Young. I am your best friend from out west. And you know, I'm always plugging the best things that happen on the west side of Chicago. So we are extremely excited to bring to you all the Art West Freedom Festival happening throughout the entire week. And this is day 5. Whew, it has been a journey so far. So this morning we are this afternoon actually. So we are extremely excited to have this conversation about creative career pathways. And so we have a few experts in their fields on this call today. I'm very excited to bring to you Marshawn Robinson, Troy Pryor, Jamisha Trice, and also Xavier Keys. So we're going to dive into a conversation today with them about creative career pathways, what has been their experience, and also how we can encourage young people to start to consider pursuing creative fields, because oftentimes we get stuck into these cookie cutter professions because we're only exposed to so many of them, especially in the Black community, and especially when we know that the arts programs are usually the first to be cut due to funding issues. So again, good morning and happy Friday. We welcome you to this creative career pathway conversation. So I'd like to go through each and every person on this call to introduce themselves, please. And we start with Marshawn Robinson. Say hello to the people.
I don't think Marshawn is on yet, so we can move on. He should be on in just a second.
Okay, great. So, all right, let's go with Troy. Troy Pryor, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to join in. When Mark sends out the call, you have to answer, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I appreciate the opportunity. I'm a filmmaker, speaker, producer here from the South Side of Chicago. Went to University of Illinois, played sports, and came back and came into the entertainment industry as a talent. And eventually got that itch to get behind the camera. And I think we'll dive into a little bit more of that later. I'm sure that's consistent with everybody on the call, that they wanted to be in a position where they could make decisions. And I think being a talent and understanding the glitz and glam of the industry is always great because it empowers you and informs you. But ultimately, we want to ensure that we are in executive roles. And that was really the thing that I really wanted to, that was really the path that I wanted to go down. So I launched my production company, I believe in 2012, after a voiceover career and on camera. And then I started to memorize a lot of the union contracts just to protect myself as a performer, and found out that the information I was retaining was valuable to other creators at the same time. And next thing you know, I got elected to a bunch of boards and got into a position to create bridges, culturally, generationally at the same time. And so all of that just really helped. And then I launched Creative Cypher 2 years later, that became an incubator for Black and brown content creators, and now has expanded to a media entertainment company that I'm really excited about.
I'm extremely excited to hear all that you've done, and I'm looking forward to having more of this conversation, especially when it comes to the film industry. And as you said, what it means to be placed in positions of executive roles, but then also creating opportunities for yourself. So, I'm extremely excited about that. And we do know we're moving towards a content creative, era. Everybody's creating content. So this is going to be extremely important for young people who have already started to dive into that part of their career. Maybe they're just doing it as a hobby, but we want to expose young people and adults to the possibilities, because we can continue to build on that. Just because you're doing it as a hobby doesn't mean that you can't consider taking that up as a profession, right? So thank you again, Troy, for joining us today. Xavier Keys, tell us who you are and what your superpower is.
I have many superpowers, but yes, I'm Xavier Keys, singer, songwriter, producer, entrepreneur, filmmaker, investor, all kinds of things. So yeah, I got the call from Mark as well, and definitely got an answer and come through. And I'm excited to just be here to share my personal experiences and inspire the generations and things that are coming behind me. Just a little bit about me. I expanded everything globally as far as like my music and touring and everything, and really didn't focus on the United States heavily just yet until last year. So if there are any artists and things that are out there that are really that are just focused on the United States, it's a much bigger world than just here. Don't shrink yourself down to just a small portion of the world. So that's one of the things that I'm going to be speaking about, is just a global outreach and actually how to do it. Also recently I just launched my masterclass where I'm teaching artists pretty much how to hack the music game and grow and convert their audience in 5 weeks. And I just had some students go through my class and they grew their audience by 260% in a week. So I'm definitely excited to be sharing those different things in my masterclass, and also help artists to discover who the audience is and how to find them and engage them. So that's what I teach as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm excited to hear more about that global reach, especially because we're in the age of the internet. And so we can, make an impact further beyond just Chicago or just the United States. So I love that you're thinking in that direction. And then also definitely excited about that masterclass. So next we are going to go to Marshawn Robinson. Please introduce yourself to the people.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I am Marshawn Robinson. I am in music, media, motion pictures, film, and I've started my industry career in the audio production business, and then I transcended it into radio, television, and then into production for live events, as well as film and TV production. My career spans about 15 years as a professional, and I'm excited because I am the lead instructor for SAE in Chicago. It's one of the 4 music education schools in Chicago, and I'm the primary instructor that teaches the career class as well as other music education classes. And I'm also a professor of adjunct for communications at Chicago State University. So I'm always excited to provide insight to persons as far as fulfilling the goals and the journey of their career.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Marshawn, for joining us this morning, this afternoon. And what I will say is that it has been a pleasure working with you throughout the entire week. And what I love most about seeing the production taking place during our streaming is watching so many young people, having their hands in curating what that looks like for people who are just enjoying it at home. And you just see the artist in front of the screen. You have no idea sometimes what's taking place behind the scenes. And so to see you orchestrating almost like a conductor, a whole team of amazing and extremely talented young people. And so thank you again for helping us curate this entire event and being a part of what I would say is the beginning of something really special. So thank you again, Marshawn. We're also going to introduce to you all Jamisha Trice. Say hello to the people.
Hello, everybody. Thank you all for having me today. Thank you for Mark for reaching out to have me. A little bit about myself. I am an artist. I'm a singer-songwriter. I started very early with a record deal. Sorry. Started very early with a record deal with Sony, well, Universal Sony at the time. I moved on from that record deal actually and wanted to learn more about the business because I started to see everybody was making money but me. And so I wanted to learn about the business. So I, enrolled, of course, in College Columbia and just made a career out of learning and teaching the business. I'm a former instructor at SAE Institute in their music business program. I went on to become a career services advisor, and I've helped hundreds of aspiring artists, producers, managers, to go forward and be fruitful in their careers. And that was one of my main goals, is to expose our students to different roles outside of just being a manager or just being an artist. Because most of them, that's all they really understood and knew. They didn't understand that there were so many other facets of the industry that they could be involved in. And so my main role and goal was to help expose those to the industry. And I still do that. I'm a career coach still. I consult. I consult a major audio brand, Antelope Audio, and I've secured deals for Zaytoven, for Cosign, for CB Mix. I've consulted deals with Downtown Music Publishing. And so I just the whole point of me transitioning from being an artist to having a fruitful career outside of being an artist, and still having some chart-topping singles and things with S&S Records, that's Steve Silver Curly's label. And so I've done some releases with them as well. So I kind of teeter-totter on both sides of the fence. I was told early on you can't do both, but I'm kind of an example that you really can. If you put your mind to it, you can do both. And you can help a lot of people out here. And my goal is to help see young artists flourish and help, to help them navigate through this industry so they won't have to bump their heads like I did. So that's me.
Beautiful. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. And thank you, Jamisha, for mentioning that you wear several hats. And I love that you mentioned that people have told you, oh, you can't do both. But what I have found to be true also for myself and a lot of the creative professionals that I know is that we wear many hats and we make them all work. So I definitely love that we're encouraging people to consider what is beyond those cookie cutter professions. So the first question that I want to ask is that I want us to all kind of go back to high school, whether it was your experience or what you think a high school student should know as they're preparing for college. Is there any advice about how someone would start off on the right track, if there is anything such as the quote unquote right track, if they're interested in pursuing creative professions such as the ones that you all have mentioned? Based on your expertise, what is some advice that you would all give to a high school student about starting from, high school to transitioning to college? Marshawn, can we have you answer that question first for us?
Absolutely. This is perfect for me because I would say to the high school student to go ahead and discover what your passion is now. I had the privilege of apprenticing with a Grammy award-winning engineer when I was about 14 years old. I wasn't old enough to get money. Every now and then, maybe they give me a gas card or a small food coupon. But by the time I was 16, I had a chance to start working in the industry because I could get a work permit. By the time I was 18, graduating high school, I then went on 3 full tours back to back. So my mother told me to come home to go to college because, I have a whole life ahead of me. So from those early ages, most of the time, parents don't get a chance to see the ability that young people have. And what we miss out on is chances is to find that passion. It's okay to pursue the passion early on. And right now, there are so many colleges and high schools that have bridge programs as well as community opportunities for arts education, for music, for production, for media. And it's okay to go ahead and pursue it, because the reality is that the persons that are in high school now, they are overwhelmingly tech savvy. And in my day, YouTube wasn't available. We didn't have streaming. We couldn't go live. But now there's so many more resources for them to go ahead and say, you know what, let me try this, because it may be the thing that they pursue further.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that. Troy, how would you address that question?
You know, Marshawn hit on a really good point when he mentioned his apprenticeship. And one of the things that I would strongly suggest is, if possible, finding a mentor, finding someone that could guide you, because we all know, man, we can go to all the schools in the world, get the scholastic knowledge, but it's nothing like that real world experience. There's nothing like, you know, listening to a panel and then being able to go up to the panelists afterwards and they say, okay, well, you know, let's have a different conversation, you know, and they just give you a little bit more insight. So like Marshawn said, the concept of being an apprentice and being able to see things firsthand. Plus, you know, this industry is all built off of relationships, like really any business. So you can come to the door with all kinds of things written on paper, but how do we work together for 18 hours on set? You know, are you cool sitting in the green room? And can I trust you around my contacts? You know, can you a good referral? All those things can only happen through interpersonal communication, which is the second point that I was going to make. And I think it applies to really any profession. One of the gifts and curses with social media, the gift is that it allows us to use these tools to connect and have resources that previous generations may not have had. But one of the challenges it also creates is sometimes, especially for a younger audience, an inability to optimize their interpersonal communication. And so what I have experienced is, I came from a family full of ministers, and I was almost forced to get into the pulpit. And it really didn't matter what profession I was in, just that ability to stand on stage and talk to a crowd, or to approach an individual and optimize my networking skills and things of that nature are very valuable. So I would suggest that any high school student right now, whatever profession they want to go into, look at some of those things that people used to call soft skills, because those are the things that are really valuable in today's world. And it's like gold. You know, you can talk to some very talented, we've all seen very talented folks, but you know, if you have a genuine conversation with somebody, 30 seconds in the elevator, or the elevator pitch, or just an authentic conversation walking down the hall, I can't tell you how many opportunities I've had just because I made a great impression with an individual, and it's opened up other doors for me. So finding a mentor, understanding that there is no exact blueprint, that everyone's journey is different, you know, so listen to it all and apply what makes sense for your journey. And I would suggest, whatever your profession is, really work on just communication and public speaking skills, because that's going to help you in an immense way.
Love that you said those soft skills, because you know, you have to have people skills to really get far. You know, a lot of times I think that networking has been truly the foundation of my professional experience and the success that I have had. And that's something that I believe was developed in high school, you know, when they would say, hey, we want you to get on stage and host this talent show. And you're like, oh no, I'm a little scared, but you do it anyway. And then you start to build that confidence over time. So I definitely love that you mentioned building those soft skills. Also, Xavier, can you tell us what your thoughts are about what you would advise young people to do?
You know, honestly, Troy hit it right on the head when he was saying and speaking about relationships. You know, the industry definitely runs off relationships. And, another thing is sharpen those skills and just become great at it. You know, don't be afraid to try something new, and not, allow yourself to be a beginner at what it is that you're doing. You know, don't be so pressured by social media and what you see on social media, trying to keep up with the Joneses and things, because you'll be trying to do that, and you'll start comparing yourself to other people, and then that'll bring down your self-confidence and things like that. So that's another thing, don't compare yourself to, other people's success. You don't know what chapter they're on. You don't know the kind of relationships that they have and things. One thing that my mentor, Ryan Leslie, he told me, have your circle of fives. So like, let's say if you are a content creator, or if you are like an entertainer like myself, have your circle of fives, like have 5 producers on speed dial, have 5 videographers, 5 editors, different things like that. So like, let's say if somebody's not available, you're not stuck like trying to figure out how am I gonna, figure this out. I got 4 more people in this category that I can call. So, you really see people with circle of fives when they have it really mastered it and everything. You really see a very successful person in the back end. So, I definitely would suggest that circle of fives.
I love that. That's a great concept. Circle of fives. I think that is extremely valuable, and I think that that's also a very, very much a timeless philosophy, because even as an adult, like I'm finding myself like, okay, I need a chef. I only knew that one chef. So now I have to build my network so that I can, get to know more people, and then also have the opportunity to collaborate more and expand my network. So definitely, I think that is a really key that I'm going to take away from this. Jamisha? Is Jamisha still here? We're gonna have her answer that question, what she advises young people in high school. No problem.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. But to echo what they're saying, just to build up your network, I always would tell students and just people in general. I will say just a quick story. When I enrolled in Columbia and we did our orientation, the first thing that they did was told us to look around the room, look in the front of us, in the back of us, each side of us, and get up and literally start talking to those people, find out what they do, see if you can connect with them. And I promise you, to this day, the people that I connected with, that I literally did a cross with, I'm still friends with to this day, and I still do business with them. And we exchange gigs and all of that stuff. We call each other, and that's my main network right now to this day. And I just say, get in the mind frame of networking, introducing yourself, having that elevator pitch, making sure that you're polishing yourself. You know what you want when you're approaching somebody. And also just understand that those people that you go to college with, that's your tribe. That's your network. Those are the people that you're going to be with probably for the rest of your life. Because I know for me, I'm still connected with almost everybody that was in my class that I connected with in the very beginning. And I'm not afraid to network. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's the president. I'm going to walk up to him, and that's what it did. Got the jitters off, getting used to doing that. And you're not afraid, because you believe in yourself. You believe in what you have, and you're able to position yourself to actually get the attention of somebody, and you're not afraid. And that comes from just constantly networking and meeting new people and getting comfortable with that process.
I love that. I think you all have definitely touched on a lot of the values that we just need as professionals. This is across the board, not even just creative careers, but just across the board. So I love that everyone really kind of honed in on that part. I definitely would say my advice to young people, especially because I know we've talked about production, we've talked about the music industry. My position, the role that I play in the community, has a lot to do with the arts, visual arts. So as a visual artist, I know that there's this perception that, oh, you just paint or you just draw, but it's so expansive. And the advice that I would give to a young person is, the first thing is assessments. They do assessments in high school, and very early on, I took assessments not really knowing truly like, okay, this is my personality assessment. It's told me, or my career assessment, this is telling me that I should consider marketing. I should consider uh, becoming a visual artist. So sometimes it gives you some really solid results. But when you're a young person, you don't always know exactly what that means. So I would advise anyone who is being encouraged to take those assessments, take that assessment result to your counselor, or take it to someone who is an adult who could help guide you and go through your results and tell you exactly like, what is marketing? This came out on my results. So, but what is that? And that person can help you kind of dive in a little bit deeper of what positions may be associated with those specific results that came out. The other piece of advice that I would say is programs. I know you all probably had an opportunity to enjoy a lot of those programs because they were free. Maybe your friends were going. I was one of those people that, hey, if my homegirl is going to this after school program, so am I, because I ain't got nothing to do, right? But what that does is it gives you exposure to different opportunities. We had video production. We had all sorts of programs that were available to us. And I started to learn at a very early age that I really enjoyed theater. I really enjoyed the arts. And so that started to get me interested in what the next step was for me when I was entering college. So with that being said, I went to college and I pursued English as a major. Why? Because my counselors thought that I was a really strong writer, right? And so they were like, "Oh, you should consider that." But in my heart of hearts, I knew that I wanted to pursue the arts. I wanted to go to Columbia College, but I was told that it was too expensive. So, do you all have any advice for college students who may be considering a major? What are some of the majors that are associated with the positions that you all are in now? Troy, can we have you answer that one for us?
Sure. So, my journey was, I can say I did not go to college for the profession, I say on the surface. I didn't go to film school, didn't go to MFA. I went.
Really? Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and that's everybody has their own journey. I went to school. Now, let me preface it by saying I've always been an artist. I was an artist as a kid. I used to sell artwork when I was a child. I've designed clothing and all that stuff. So that part has always been a part of me. And I've always been in front of crowds for different reasons, so that helped. But when I went to college, I wound up playing two sports at a D1 school. I was a linebacker and power lifter. So that was the direction I thought I was going. Tore my ACL, totally blew my knee up. All that stuff happened, and that just wasn't in the stars for me. I had an opportunity to work with Tyler Perry, and it opened up the door to viewing a Black man in a leadership role. And coming from a family of community leaders, that was all in alignment. So when I came back to Chicago and got into the industry, in the back of my head, I had a lens at that point, and that was, okay, get into a position where you can create opportunities for yourself and others. And so for me, when I went to college, the skill set or the degree path that I went into was communications. And so all of those tools that I acquired have helped me immensely in my career path, because so much of it is presenting, so much of it is speaking, so much of it is oratorical skills, regardless of the theater setting. I did take a few classes, as a talent, which has helped me as well. But one of the biggest things that I gained from my college experience was grasping the ability to connect with different people and collaborate and things of that nature. I think it's great to, it's obviously amazing to have, a specific skill set written down, but that real world experience is awesome. So I would strongly suggest, taking classes in the specific area that you're interested in, but thinking outside the box too. Maybe take an accounting class. How many of us as artists have had to, or at least seen someone make poor business decisions because they were totally in the dark about whatever the deal was on the table. So take a business, take a business course, take an accounting course, take some other things that, you may not think off the top as someone who moved into the acting world or MFA world would have taken. Understand the business behind it as well. And I think, folks like Marshawn are awesome at that because they give you a holistic view of the business and as a talent. How do you look at yourself as a brand? So, my journey was a lot of trial and error, and I just picked up things on the way. So if you can find those institutions that provide specific courses down your path, take those. If you find programs, take those. Find those mentors, but also think outside of the box and see what other skill sets you can apply to your toolbox.
I love that. Would anyone else like to add to that? We were talking, the original question was, what are some of the majors or the fields in which are associated to what you're doing now? For example, what I'm doing now has a lot to do with the major that I eventually switched over to. I went from English, and I hate it because that's not what my true passion was. My true passion was the arts, and I discovered that I really enjoyed communications. But it took me a long time, you guys. Like, I was in school for 10 years trying to get my bachelor's degree. And I finally, at some point, made a decision that the English major wasn't working for me. So I went and I did some research and found that the communications program was a better fit. It had an opportunity for me to dive into video production, journalism, a whole slew of things that I really enjoyed. So in your experience, did you all pick the right major for you, Marshawn?
Yes. So in my undergraduate, from my bachelor's degree, I chose communications and media arts. Having already a previous experience in audio, having a successful apprenticeship, I wanted to get the full gamut of it. So in the undergrad bachelor's degree, I pursued communications, which was radio and television broadcasting, media arts, and then that's how I dived into the theater world. When I went to grad school with my master's degree, I pursued communication with sound arts. Specifically because the world changed. We were in streaming, podcasting, and so I wanted to extend my knowledge of the industry to do more post-production, to continue in my TV world a little further. Right now, I'm pursuing a doctorate in educational leadership because now I'm teaching it. But I believe that, to answer your question, the majors that provide so many more opportunities are arts, entertainment, media, and not just production, but we want to consider the management as well. Because on the management side, there are so many more avenues as far as in the back end, the business office, as well as those who are interested in starting their own company. Entrepreneurship is a big deal. And so there are so many more small companies that are doing larger things that we're not even realizing. If we go from our music industry, our media industry, it's not just in front of the camera, it's behind the camera. It's not just in front of the mic in the studio, it's the behind the scenes. There's the recording engineer, there's the mixing and master engineer, for every camera, there's a video director. For every talent, there's a talent handler or a manager or a business representative. And besides that, representation doesn't have to be an attorney or someone with a degree in law, but it can be someone who is well skilled in the craft. So the communications opens it up. Public relations opens it up. Marketing opens it up. Advertising opens it up. Media management. So all of those opportunities of majors will still bring you in a full circle so that you're hitting back into the industry for the careers.
Woo! Can we pass a collection plate on that one? I really appreciate that because it makes me feel like I definitely made the right decision for myself. And I want to encourage people, especially young people, follow your heart. If you know that you're specifically interested in going in a specific route, then go ahead and take that risk. I wish I would have went on ahead and pursued communications much earlier, but it's all good. Jamisha, do you have any advice about what majors people should be looking into?
Yeah, to touch on what Marshawn said, see, for me and what I do so many things. I wear so many hats. I chose my degree in arts, entertainment, media management, and I had a minor. Well, it was concentration music business, but I had a minor in marketing. And I looked at that all-encompassing kind of approach to things, because if I just wanted to be a singer, but I knew that I had gotten done wrong with my first deal. So I wanted to learn the business, and everybody kept encouraging me, go to school for voice. And I'm like, I can get a vocal coach. I can do the voice thing, but I need to learn this business so I can make money, so I can have a fruitful career. And so with that being said, if you are an artist, if your passion is creative, you can do both. You can have a minor in one or the other, but do not skip the business side, or you are shooting yourself in the foot. Absolutely shooting yourself, because you will be an amazing creative and you will probably be broke, and you will probably be resentful and very upset and hateful because you didn't get your just due. And you don't get that if you don't understand the business. You don't get that if you don't get your paperwork together. And even in so, my first deal is so funny because I was a kid. I was literally 16 years old. And the people that I was working with, the production company, they sent me to their lawyer. Now, everybody knows now that that's a no-no, but back then I didn't know. I had no clue. I was like, oh, great. And the lawyer was like, yes, this is an amazing contract. Go for it. It's awesome. He read through it with me. He was like, yeah, they own 100% of your publishing. That's great. I'm like, wait. Hold on. What is publishing? And they wouldn't explain it to me. And he just curtailed me like cattle through the deal, and I signed it. And I looked back, and it was nothing but the blessings that there was this ordinance that was passed on a federal level that said minors couldn't be in a contract for so long, and they dropped me, and I was released from that agreement. But if that had not happened, I was signed to a 16-year, 16 option deal. I would have been signed for that's longer than you can even live into a deal with no publishing. And so with that being said, learn the business. You have to understand and learn the business. And with a interdisciplinary type of degree, you can learn all these different things. You may not be an expert at everything, but you can learn all these different things that come together to help you bridge the gaps in your career. So at least you'll know who you hire, how to go check them, how to make sure that they're doing their jobs properly, how to make sure that if somebody leaves or something happens, you can fill in that slot, because that happens so many times in your career. You have no idea when somebody don't show up, and you got to come in, you got to wear that hat, and you need to know how to wear that hat. The only way to know that is to understand and learn all these different facets of the business.
I love that. Yes, Jamisha, you got to know how to wear that hat when it's time to wear that hat. So real quick, I want to ask Xavier if he has any input on that question about college options or majors. And then I want to introduce another person who is on the call, Reggie. So we'll get to that in a second. So Xavier, any thoughts?
After that one, when she was talking about the business side, I felt every word you were saying. But, I would say, with me, I started in television in 2006 and went all over the country filming for different events and things like that. Needless to say, I had no idea that skill, working in TV, starting at my church, editing, knowing how to edit, knowing how to shoot, and those different things, I had no idea that I was going to use those in my own career at a later time. So if different opportunities and things present itself for you to learn, take it. It's nothing wrong with learning different things, learning those things, because you never know how it's going to impact your life later on and how you're going to need it. So like, for instance, hypothetically, this will never happen. I doubt it. If you do have your circle of fives and nobody's available, and I was like, oh my gosh, you need an editor or somebody, you know how to edit. If you need somebody to, to do lighting or different things, I know how to do lighting, all that stuff. So it's like, to have those skills and things, just like she was saying, you can make sure people are on their job and things, you know, make sure that they're doing the right thing. You know, if lighting or anything looks, you know, off on my sets or anything, I'm like, hey, you know, this is not right, you know, because I know, because I took those classes, those lessons, those different things. I put in the time and the work back then. So it's definitely, like I said, it's nothing wrong with learning different skills and things, because the path is not going to be straight for success. It's a journey and it's a marathon. So on the, you know, in the process of everything, learn some different skills, and, you know, that's something that you can, you know, use later on for sure.
I love that, Xavier. I appreciate that you said that. And I think everybody touched on that. You know, learn the business, understand the craft, especially the ones that you know will start to build out your brand. If you have a good idea of what you want your brand to look like and feel like, then make sure that you're studying like composition. When your photographer comes to take a picture of you, should you know exactly what vibe you're looking for? Is it going to have you know, the right lighting? Are you going to be positioned well in that shot? So you have to know all of those things, and those are some things that I've been able to acquire over time that has helped me polish Art West to be a brand that that I know if I were to see something from Art West is going to have a specific type of tone, a feel, or a vibe to it, because we want to start building brand awareness, right? So with that being said, I'm going to transition to introduce you all to the COO of Next Showcase. We have Reggie. Reggie, can you say hello to the people?
Hello, everyone. Reggie Ayers here, COO for Next Showcase Chicago. I also am an artist manager. I have my own business, Ayers Management CO. So what Jamisha was saying was spot on. Even from the the management aspect of it, you need to know everything your manager knows. You need to know more than your manager knows, so that, as she said, you know what your manager is doing. A 16 option deal, my God, you were never going to get any money. Yeah, so you need to know what your manager knows, and there are so many creative careers that everyone can take advantage of. Everyone does not have to be on the platform, on the stage. Your name doesn't have to be in lights. You can be the one that's putting the lights up, putting the name in lights, and you're just as important as the person that's on that stage, on that platform. So my advice would be to find something that you love to do, because if you love to do it, it doesn't feel like work. If you love to do it, then the money might not be there all the time. You know, but if it's something that you love to do, you don't mind doing it until everything lines up the way that it needs to. And there are so many careers, again, that you can go into, and so many things that you can do that can make money for you.
Beautiful. So, oh my gosh, I think you said so many things just now. Again, it's back to that passion. That passion is going to help push you through, right? Yeah. So the next question I have, I would like two people to ask, whoever those two people are, you know, go for it. But can you make it without a degree?
Absolutely. Absolutely, you can.
Yes.
Okay, do you all have any advice for anyone who may feel that college is not for them? And there's probably so many reasons why college may not be for people. And, you know, sometimes finances or whatever the barrier is there. But what advice do you all have for people who may have decided that college is not the best option for them, but they still have the passion, they have the grit, they have the work ethic? Can you tell them what your advice is?
I mean, it goes back to the whole thing about, you know, what Troy was saying, your network, and, you know, and everything. If you do decide to go that route and things, and it's totally understandable. College, I didn't finish college personally. So, and I'm very successful in my fields, well, in fields in general. So it's nothing wrong with that, It was just, I seen how the industry, me personally, I seen back then how the industry was moving towards, you didn't have to have a degree in this field in order to make a living or just make an impact in things. So I got the associates and that was it for me. I didn't go to complete the bachelor's degree program. And the thing, if you do feel like, college is not for you, that's when you really, just really be on it with your, with your skills and everything, making sure that whatever profession it is that you are in, that that you're great at it. You're not mediocre at it or anything, and you take the time and you put those 10,000 hours in. Hypothetically, I don't know if it is 10,000 hours, anything, but you put those hours in and that work and energy in to make sure that you are the best, to make sure that that you do know what you're doing when it does come time, for you to just do your thing, that you can do it without question, so.
I love that. Can somebody else add to that advice that you give to someone who may not pursue college?
The advantage is that because I had a chance to apprentice early on, was that by the time I was touring and doing the big stages, I hadn't attended college yet. So what happened was for me is that it became a reinforcement of what I learned. My apprenticeship prepared me, and my apprenticeship gave me the skills necessary, but I had to go back and continue to learn. And even after becoming a degreed professional, I still have to continue learning. I continue to pursue industry certificates. I continue to pursue professional certifications. For example, with my degrees, but I'm also certified by Yamaha as an engineer in their console mixing. I'm also certified by Avid. I'm certified by Digico. And the training provides the certificates, but it's really about you knowing the stuff. If you know it, you can do the work. No one will question the person who is young. They won't know if you have the professionalism or not. They want to know your work. And so if you can prove the work and you can show that you can do it, then it's rewarding. And it gives you the opportunity to grow quickly. All of my accolades that I've achieved have been under 40. And I'm grateful for it because my mentors are twice my age. And most of my mentors didn't get a degree in the program. Most of my mentors, there wasn't a program available. So, you can get a degree in plumbing and like computer science, but there were no degrees in music and media 20, 30, 40 years ago. But the industry existed 20, 30 years ago. So those professionals were absolutely achieving in the industry, but they did not have the degrees. So, and at the most, the bachelor's degree was the highest level 20 years ago. Now, with continuing education, there's more opportunity. But again, I'll emphasize that if you learn the work, you can have the job. If you learn the work, you can earn the position, because the degree will only get you so far. And if you don't have the degree, you can only go so far. So it's a both ways, but I know persons that are highly successful without the degree. So yes, you absolutely can be successful in the industry without the degree. If you don't get the degree, you need to learn the work, because the work is what's going to prove your ability to be successful.
I love that. So a question that I had that came up for me when you were just talking, Marshawn, is talent enough? Because in my mind, it's not. What are some things that people should know once they're starting to get actually in the field, right? So we're talking about artists, we're talking about, whatever role you play. What do people need besides just talent? And we already talked about networking, right? But what do people really need to become successful? What are some soft skills that, Troy, you talked about before? Can you lay out some of those, what some of those soft skills are specifically to people?
I'll say one piece and I'll lobby it to Troy and then to Jamisha, because she can speak on the artist side. My last piece will be is that we have to know that there are three parts of this. The industry of music, there's the industry of music, there's the business of the music, and then there's the music itself. As creatives, we create the music, we love it, we enjoy it, we loathe to participate in it. But just because you're a creator or a musician doesn't make you savvy in business. You have to be successful and learn the business. And the industry is an entirely different thing. The networking, the lobbying, how to handle yourself, negotiations is business. So there's the music industry, and the music business. They're three separate things, but you have to know all three if you want to be successful. I'll hand it to Troy.
One of the things I'll add as far as soft skills that I hadn't already, I really feel that there's a level of humility that we need in order to be successful. We've used the term collaborate so far in the conversation. We've talked about team building. We've talked about continuing your education, always learning. But I think it all stems from a self-awareness that we're never done and that we're always building on a foundation. And there was an analogy I saw the other day, and it said most people try, fail, quit. And it said what you should do is try, fail, analyze, adjust. Try, fail, analyze, adjust. So you're never done. You're just better than you were the day before. So it's this having a foundation, this idea that I'm always growing, gives you a perspective, I think, to absorb all those other things. And one of the things that I really focus on is observational skills, being able to pay attention to not only the business and trends, but just observing how individuals operate with one another, how they communicate with one another. It gives you a perspective on the moves that you may want to make as well. And you could get really philosophical and say, peace be still. And you imagine sometimes, someone told me the other day, sometimes we try so hard to grasp, let's say water is the thing that we want, and we try so hard to grasp it and we lose it. But if you just, sit still, you obtain it. So I think that self-awareness is something that is hard to get from a book. That's, to me, I believe, is one of those soft skills that needs to be absorbed at a foundational level, because it allows you to navigate in spaces. Another thing someone told me a long time ago was, it was a quote, and it said, "Your talent will take you places your character won't keep you." We all know super talented folks, just amazingly gifted, talented folks that don't last because nobody wants to work with them. And it's just a matter of, I think, going back to some of those foundational values as a person, I think will take you much further than just being able to say, I have an amazing voice, or I'm dope with the pen, or I'm great with the paintbrush, because that'll only take you so far.
Jamisha, can we have you add to that? And thank you so much, Troy. I think you really definitely nailed it, because I honestly was thinking to myself, as a visual artist, I know that there's the painting side, but then the business side of it, that also meant, hey, am I doing the things correctly, the way that are standard to the industry? Because at some point, some of the things that I present will need to be standard to the industry. Am I hanging pieces correctly so that they're not tearing up the wall? Like, there's just some very basic skills, but then also humility that you mentioned. I've met so many talented people, but it's tough to work with them because, again, somebody will tell you all day long about how important they are. And you're like, you might be important, but, you just kind of feel like that person is just a little more cocky than they should be. And that kind of leaves a bitter taste in your mouth sometimes. So, Jamisha, do you have any thoughts around, is talent enough? And if so, or if not, then what do people need to add?
Well, of course, talent is not enough. No. But for sure, I believe everything that has been, point that has been touched, definitely humility and, skills and all those things, leadership, management, you have to be able to build a team. The greatest artists right now, they have the ability to manage 300, 400, 500 people at one time. And of course they have, managers set in place and production people and all these different people that manage the people under them, but they manage those top level people and they're able to do that. If you look at Beyonce, she's a master at it. She knows how to manage her team. Her talent is amazing, but if she did not know how to manage what she had, it would be a disaster. And so her being able to pull off these huge, amazing projects is just the testament to being a great leader, being a great manager, and knowing what you want and how to activated to do what you need them to do. And at the end of the day, as an artist, no matter how much talent you got, this is your shit, because sometimes we'll put our careers in other people's hands, and some managers are, oh my God, just simply amazing. I mean, it's just, you're like, oh God, you're awesome. But still, there's still a level of managing your manager. There's still a level of making sure that the vision that you have is coming across, and it's not just their vision that they're trying to live vicariously through you or whatever that may be. You have to make sure you treat yourself. And so the ability to really, the leadership ability is something that I think artists, don't always stand up to the challenge of and understand that you have to run this thing. This is at the end of it, you're a business, and you're the CEO of this business, and anything that falls, it's gonna fall on you, and it's your career ultimately.
Thank you, Jamisha. And I love that you touched on building teams, and it is your business. It made me come up with
Lexi,
a thought. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd like to add something there as it relates to performing artists that are on stage, singing artists. There are a lot of great singers, but every singer is not for the main stage. Every singer doesn't know how to command the stage, command the audience, hold the audience's attention, knowing what songs are appropriate at what places and in what audiences. It's a lot to just getting up and singing. It's a lot more than just getting up and singing. You got to be able to keep the audience captivated while you're up there. Otherwise, you're going to lose them. It's like, oh, just another singer. But you have to be a performer as well as being a great singer. So there are some things that are needed. Some singers are just local, and then some will be national. Some singers are just for Sunday morning, and then you have some that you pull out on those concerts. So it's more to it as it relates to a singer as well.
Love that. Thank you. Thank you for chiming in on that, Reggie. Any advice around building capacity? Okay, so we talked about building teams, and I love that, Jamisha, you touched on that. And we talked about entrepreneurship a lot. I know for myself, as an entrepreneur, it has been difficult to build capacity and build teams with no money. So do y'all have any advice about that? Like how to get to that next level when you know that you might be like, you ain't got it like that to be paying people? How do you navigate that?
Yeah. So one of the things that
that no money question just kind of got everybody. Oh, no money? Oh, she didn't say little money. She said no money. Alexi, I would say that I have various teams that I work with. There's always a core team that I work with that's level A, and we all know who we are. We recognize each other. We all show up on the same different productions to execute whatever it is for the artist or the performer or production that we're trying to ensue. It is difficult to produce without some type of finances. So one thing is that you want to try to find either a producer or someone who can find money for you. Sometimes people have projects and they don't have the budget for it, but there are people who are willing to finance projects. There are people who are willing to provide compensation or invest, depending on what the return is for what you're trying to pull off. If in the nonprofit world, there are tons of grants. In the for-profit world, there are people who are maybe interested in the back end if the show was going to be sold or if it was a part of a catalog or depending on what the goal is. So everything doesn't require money, but if you don't have money, I would say enlist someone who can get those finances for you because it'll make things a little bit easier for you. And the next part is be honest with people because there are some people who are top end grade A professionals that will still do the work for you, even if you don't have the full rate available. There are some people that'll work with you and say, hey, you know what? I know you don't have it right now. This is a difficult time. This is a pandemic. I'll still do the work for you at this better rate because they may believe in the project or they want to move forward with producing it for you. So just be honest and communicate what you are working with. I've known tons of people to do that. Similarly with teams, my teams, I know all of their rates. I know how much they cost. And sometimes I'll have the conversation with them to say, hey, this is the event or this is the producer or this is the show or whatever it is, or this festival, and they don't have this. Would you be okay with a lesser rate because everybody would be taking it? And sometimes teams will say, yeah, I'll still do it because they still want to be with the core people. So if you're communicating, you can also still achieve even if there's a smaller budget.
Beautiful. Anybody else want to give some advice on, I'm not gonna say broke, but how entrepreneurs early in the game can get to that next level, even if finances are not.
Well, there's, we here? Okay, cool. Two things, and I think that people really underestimate this thing right here. I am a career services advisor. My position and my job was to find our students the best opportunities available in the industry, right? If you come with an opportunity that's amazing to me, I'm going to pair you with one of my best students that I have available for that position and job. And you may be getting somebody that really don't even need to be in college. They should be in the field already, but they're trying to get their degree because their parents wanted them to get it or whatever it may be. They may be so far along. And so my thing is reach out to a creative arts community college or some type of college that has a career services department and talk to those career services people, and they're gonna bring you some because they want to impress you as much as you want to impress them, and make it so make what you do so attractive that people do want to get involved in what you're doing. Because and another thing is you have to be able to scale. I created a whole business where I didn't spend a dime. Like I didn't. I just really literally created a consulting business and my clients paid for everything that I needed. I didn't know what I was doing, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know what I was doing, but I said this is what I want to do. And I literally got my first client and I'm like, y'all gonna let me do this for real? I was super geeked and I was like, okay, but I didn't have any money. Like I literally didn't. I just didn't. I had my mouthpiece. And I went in and I'm like, yo, I could do this. And I could, but I had to have a team to be able to do it and have, some finances. But first thing is definitely career services advisor. If you need some help for real, I got a list for you. If you really need somebody, I got a real dope list for you of people that want to assist and help entrepreneurs, African-American, specifically entrepreneurs in business, from accountants to marketing people. I'm exercising this list right now and using it myself, so I could definitely, plug you. I don't plug everybody because you don't, I don't. It's personal.
Yes.
Things. I will plug you with this amazing list of people that want to help Black business owners, do different things. So, but yeah, career services and scale. Find if you can, like I'm sure Troy, you have bootstrapped a movie and you didn't have no money, and you made that thing, and it may not have been the best quality that you wanted, but you figured out how to make it really, really good and really nice with what you had. And then you keep doing that, and then you'll attract more people because your quality is just gonna keep getting better the more you do it, and the better the work. So that's
that.
Sorry for my long winds.
No, it's okay. Thank you, Jamisha. Thank you. And yes, can we toss this to Troy, especially when we're talking about the film industry? Like how can people navigate around finances?
Well, she actually just made a great segue to a specific project we worked on maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and I would say it was the precursor to Creative Cipher, which, by the way, was really built off of this barter and trade, collaborative ecosystem. But there was a project called Intersection years ago. It was a short film project. Really talented writer in LA, connected with somebody out there. He wanted to film it in Chicago. So the person he was speaking with talked to me. Within 5 days of our first conversation, the project was flipped from non-union to union. It was cast. The talent was paid double scale. We had the locations, wardrobe, everything was locked in place. But that was because I had built somewhat of an ecosystem to be able to leverage. Now, if I'm going to reverse engineer that experience, the first thing I would say was sharpening your own skill set, your own toolbox. To Jamisha's point, making sure that you're providing value, and it's simple supply and demand like any other business. And so you may not come to the table with a huge budget and say, I'm going to be able to afford this huge team or pay for all of these resources. But if you can provide value, then you put yourself in a much better position. Now, the second half of that coin goes back to what I mentioned earlier, and that's observation. Because you can have an amazing supply, but if there's no demand for that supply, you're stuck. So not only do you want to continue to sharpen your own skills, but you want to identify where you can apply those. You might be able to approach somebody, but they don't necessarily need exactly what you have to offer at that time. It may not be the optimal time for you. And if you play chess or any other game where you think several moves ahead, you might say, you know what, I'm going to work on this smaller project because I have some leverage over here and I can provide value. I don't have to put any money down, and it will give me something on my resume. It'll help build my credibility. It'll put me in a much better position to eventually approach that other person that I wanted to talk to a while ago. And now I'm in a much better position to have that conversation with them. Because as we know in this industry, it's what you do, what was the last thing that you did, right? So you may be able to leverage your sharpened tool, your sharpened skill set in a space where there's a demand for it, even if it takes 3 or 4 projects. But if you don't have to put any money down, then it's about sweat equity. And if you can do that enough to at least give yourself some leverage to position yourself for that other conversation. But it is going to take making sure that your skills are sharpened or your toolbox is sharpened, so you have value, that you identify where those opportunities are, so you can actually have that supply and demand. Personal experience for me, way before I built the Cipher, was when I came into the industry as a talent. I worked on a couple of projects and I wasn't pleased with the experience. I didn't, like, I think someone mentioned earlier how, we were the last to get paid or something to that effect. And so I started to memorize all the contracts just to protect myself as a talent, not realizing that I was really, I was absorbing a lot of information that producers needed. And eventually I would get cast on a project and they were faced with some type of challenge, and I would be able to walk up to them and say, no, if you want to do that, then the contract needs to be this, that clause needs to look like this, da, da, da. And then I said, wait a minute, a lot of these independent, Black and brown millennial content creators that may have some dope ideas are having a challenge with some of these union contracts. So my in was, I was a dude that they were comfortable talking to. I looked like them, I talk like them, I sound like them, I made them feel comfortable, and I could provide them this information that was, I guess, less accessible in other ways. And so it gave me an opportunity to become a producer. So then it grew from hire Troy as a talent to now make sure he's on this set so we can flip this project union, so we can cast so-and-so from Chicago Fire and Chicago, and it just continued to grow from that point. And so now, several years later, I just replicated that process. And so Intersection was a proof of concept because it showed me what I could do with a project like that. It became something on my resume. It won several awards, and one project begets two projects, begets four projects, and it starts to grow, especially if you not only have the talent, the skill, but you carry yourself in a way where you can build genuine relationships with people. And you know, my goal, one of my goals was to have that Oprah effect. You know, I wanted to be able to, no matter what I touched, to have access to a bank that I could always add value. And I think if we reverse engineer that whole thing, it goes back to an independent artist who doesn't have any money and just figuring out what value do I have that I can provide right now.
Thank you so much, Troy. I really appreciate so many things that you said, especially the supply and demand concept and, you know, knowing your value, building your skill set so that you can become an asset to people. Xavier, I wanted to ask, and I feel like this might be a great opportunity to segue. So we talked about, you know, supply and demand. I feel like the question around audience, right? I feel like that might be an issue for a lot of artists or creatives or professional entrepreneurs. Professionals or entrepreneurs sometimes may struggle with identifying their audience or who their market is. Can you tell us in your experience, like, what made you decide that that you were going to go for a global reach rather than just Chicago or United States? Tell us about that experience.
Let me see. It was a process in learning that, and what I noticed was, and I'm sure a lot of artists and creators out there can attest to this, is that art is very subjective, and not everybody is going to like your work and everything that you do, and it's okay. You know, it's an audience for you at the end of the day. You just have to find out where they are, where they live on social media, which is one of the things that I teach in my masterclass, and how I pretty much came to grip as far as you know, figuring out if I want to do this locally or globally. I chose globally, and I went to a music conference in Cannes, France. It's in the south of France, in the French Riviera, and it's pretty much a music conference, business to business, where we would network and everything. And I performed over there a few times at different clubs and different venues, and I really saw how like the audience there was really captivated by my artwork and everything. And I did a small promotion and things on Facebook, and I got such a great response from it. So I was like, okay. So like last summer we did 2 summers ago we did a 6-country tour over the course of 28 days. And we went around and everything, and it was myself and other independent artists. We went around and performed and everything, and we ended the tour pretty much basically in France at the music conference. And just doing that and networking, as we go back to that, we also had the opportunity to meet a guy named Ashish. And Ashish is he's one of the biggest people in not Hollywood. So like you got Hollywood here, and in India you have Bollywood. So he was like, I'm throwing a music festival. I want you guys to come perform in my country, India. So it's just those, you never know who's in the room and everything, who can open up an opportunity for you. So he flew myself and everybody that was a part of that tour to Mumbai, India, to perform and do shows around India, which was amazing. And just honestly watching how and learning over the years how much our music is so much appreciated overseas, and how it's a gem overseas. Honestly, it's like a diamond, and they cherish it, because you don't really get American culture overseas, especially like in places like China, where our music and things are banned. It's impossible for you to get your music in China if you don't have the right relationships and the right connections and things. So, and China is actually one of the biggest global music markets in the world. So you think, just the United States is a big audience. has nothing, you only just a small dot on the earth, you know, when you just focusing on that. So, you know, and the thing is, you know, when you do focus on a global audience, you know, you're able to really dive into, like, you know, your analytics and things on the back end if you do want to do that, and see who your true audience is on a global reach. And then you know, it's just it's so much I could say. It's so much, but I definitely would suggest it to anybody.
I love that. Thank you for chiming in on that. Does anyone else want to add to that? Like how someone can identify who their audience is, or what your experience has been in identifying your audience or market?
Oh, I didn't speak on that as far as identifying my audience, how I did that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. So I went and I did an assessment with a woman by the name of Karen Marie Mason, and she helped me to figure out my brand and what I stood for as an artist and everything. And one of the things that she told me was I was quote unquote the love doctor. And I was like, you know, what does that really entail and mean? And she was really breaking it down as far as like, you know, what do I sing about? What is my message in music and thing? And it's really encouraging and uplifting Black women, making them feel sexy, appreciated, and wanted. And that was one of the things that I noticed in music, how music was really degrading to the African American woman, you know, as it is and stuff now. So she was saying, you know, your message and everything, your brand, everything connected to you should be, you know, that the love doctor. So like if you see like on my Twitter, Instagram, different things like that, my message and my brand, everything is consistent. So I'm pushing out, you know, I push out a lot of quotes to uplift, to inspire and encourage and different things like that. And over the time, as you continuously do that and you stay consistent, people will retweet it, and then, you know, your audience and stuff will continue to grow from there. And the right people that are aligned with that brand message will make their way to you, and you honestly will have your own lane where nobody will be able to come and, you know, disrupt your flow.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for that. So I have about 2 more questions before we start to wrap up our conversation today. So the next question is, so we talked about all of these things, right? I mean, we just went through a whole lot of stuff today. My question is, how have you all been able to manage all of these things that you're doing? So Jamisha, you talked about wearing all these hats. Can you tell us like what you've done to help manage all of the projects that you had on the table?
I pray a lot.
Absolutely.
I mean, I am not going to act like it's peaches and it's cream. I have a lot of support. I have a lot of help. I have an amazing team that I work with, and I know how to pull a team together. Like seriously, I'm gifted, I'd say at that. And that takes a lot of the load off when you're able to bring the right people together and you know that everybody's gonna do their job right, because you know the job that they're supposed to be doing, and you make sure that they're doing it right. And when you bring a good team together, it's really, really, you know, it's really a joy to do what I do. I mean, I have a trucking company. I have a consulting business. I have a studio. I work in managing a 30-seat theater. It's a lot. I'm an artist, singer, songwriter. I write for other artists. I don't know how I do this. And I'm a mom. And I have a not-for-profit Forever Hope agency, and we do a lot of community work. And it's just like each one of those things that I just named comes with a whole team of people. Like it's not just this name, it's like literally managing all of these different people. And it gets hard, you know? It really does. Sometimes I come home, I have to have a glass of wine. I'm like, I am wore out, I am tired. Can somebody take my shoes off? Can somebody help me out? You know, it gets to that point. But when you're passionate about what you do, it makes you wake up the next day and say, you know what, I'm ready to do it again. Let's go. And more importantly for me, I have always been in community development. So I know that my position and my role opens up the door for other people to be employed. So every time I get a new contract or I get a new gig or I do this, that, I'm able to employ an engineer. I'm able to employ a cameraman or a production person or this person or that person, even all the way down to the venue that I use for my gala. It's like that is employing somebody and that is affecting the economy in a positive way. And I'm all about that. And so that's what really gives me the drive to do what it is that I do.
I love that.
But I need
Troy, how are you managing all of your projects?
So, I had to, I always, to keep it short, I said I had to create an algorithm that I could replicate. I had to figure out a system. When when you play sports, sometimes those playbooks can be really thick, or that screenplay or that, anything in nature, but you create models and systems that allow you to replicate that process. And so oftentimes what people will see on the surface is a catalog of work or live events or programming, but not see that there's actually a system that was built in place that I just maneuver a few things, a little nuances here and there, and allows me to manage those things, because there's no way that I would be able to do it effectively if I was trying to put the same amount of energy every time and everything. You can't be everything for everyone. That's the lesson that I had to learn, because there's been several times in the past where I've literally physically burnt myself out. And I'm sure we've all done that as entrepreneurs, and had to realize, I want to say I'm a machine, but I'm a human being, and and I just I realized that in the process, because I was blessed to see other entrepreneurs and observe their delegation skills, and realize that there was no way that they could manage multiple businesses and scale and expand by doing it all themselves. And I'm so grateful. 2 months ago, my wife and I, we just had our son. So I was preparing to take a step back from some things already. So I would say one thing that can help is, if possible, you can create some type of system that you can apply in different spaces. It will allow you to multiply your output without burning yourself out.
Definitely.
Okay, yes, multiply your output without burning yourself out. Okay, Troy, thank you. Xavier, how are you managing all of your projects?
The biggest thing, I'm gonna keep this short. The biggest way that I'm able to manage all of the projects is focusing on my why. Why am I doing it? Because like I said, you will get burnt out and different things. In the world today, 97% of the world focuses on the how, only 3% focus on the why. And it's the world, like I said, we're pushing this how to do this, how to do that. And that's it. I focus on the why. I have 10 reasons. I wrote down 10 reasons why. So like when those hard days and things do come, where you do feel burnt out and different things, I go and I reflect and I look at those 10 whys. And those 10 whys should be emotional, to where, it's okay if it does bring tears to your eyes. That's going to give you fuel to push through the barrier and, to really get through, because the industry in entertainment and film, fashion, whatever it is, it's going to punch you in the gut. You will at times fail. You will suck. You will embarrass yourself. It's just the reality of it, but it's okay. But you got those 10 whys to reflect on why you're doing this. It's just gonna give you fuel for the next day, where you're able to, like you said, wake up the next day in the morning, you're fully refreshed, and you're able to go and do your thing. So.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you all so much for just this entire conversation. I know we're about to wrap this up. Mark, are you here? Can you tell us, what do you think of this conversation?
Well, the little bit that I did hear, because as you see, I was in and out driving. I was doing a whole lot of duties, had a family emergency I had to take care of. So I'm in the car dealing with my niece at the same time, trying to be on the call. But it was an amazing panel, amazing topics of discussion. I mean, you have some of the greatest on the panel, so I expected nothing less. Plus, they'd have heard it from me if they gave you anything less other than perfection. So they'd have heard from me. No, but seriously, awesome conversation, and great moderation there, Alexi. You did a good job. Look at you. You act a little smart up there sometime, huh?
Dropped my phone today.
Awesome. Well, it was actually a great conversation. I hope that our listeners and our viewers were able to grab a lot of great information and was able to like take things down, take some notes, and be able to capitalize on a lot of things. Janice, I know you said that you had a list for us. If you can send that list over, we would love to be able to publish that list and put it out on our different websites and things like that. It'd be great information.
I will say I don't think it should be published,
Okay.
but if you want to send it to a few people, like, because it's really important to make sure that things are vetted, and I'm very much for that, especially when it's coming from me. So yeah, I mean, just just send it to people you really feel like, okay, comfortable. 100%.
You got to protect that social capital, Jamisha. So I'm here with you.
Team women power. I get it. Got to stick together. Also, we'll definitely send that information out that way. Thanks a lot for everything, Troy. Appreciate you, bro, as always. He's a man of many talents and man of many gifts, and he definitely has his hand in a lot of great atmospheres and great opportunities and great avenues. So he's what we call our connector, because he really knows how to connect a lot of people. He does, and of different backgrounds and different organizations. He's really great at it. Very great networker, and I'm definitely able to connect people. And Xavier, of course, one of our team members, and he's also an amazing artist and also very intelligent young man as well. And I know Marshawn, he was actually doing double duty as well. He was actually teaching in class and here at the same time. So that's why he kept dipping in and out. It was like, he texted me, was like, I got to dip out. So he's teaching the class and in at the same time. So we definitely appreciate him. I hope I didn't get him in trouble for that. Maybe they should have known that, huh?
Don't tell nobody.
Nobody. No, but we appreciate him. And of course, our COO, Reggie, I saw him. He gave some great information and great feedback as well. So, yeah, great conversation, great topic of discussion. We need to do this again. Definitely.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
With the same panel. I think this is like a whole 8 hours worth of information that people actually can get. So we need to break this down and have a couple more sessions. I like this. This is a good feel. I like this.
Wow. Well, thank you again to Xavier Keys for joining us today. Thank you again to Jamisha Trice, Troy Pryor. We also had Marshawn Robinson and Reggie. Reggie, I don't remember your last name. You just Reggie to me now.
Hey.
It's
But
right
thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate having this time to have this conversation about creative career pathways, but we talked about a whole lot today. So thank you for being a part of the Art West Freedom Festival. This is day 5. We still have a couple days to go, but this has been such a journey. And I'm really excited to have been able to have this platform take place from the west side of Chicago, because you all know I am your best friend from out west. And thank you again for joining us.
All right. Take care, everybody.